If your wife told you she wants out of the marriage and someone told you to let her go, that might be the single worst piece of advice you will ever take. And today I'm going to show you exactly why that advice is destroying marriages that could have been saved. My name is Noah Allen, and I work with high-performing men, entrepreneurs, executives, and guys who have built empires outside of the home, but feel completely powerless inside of it. And the number one thing I hear from these men is somebody told me to let her go. If she wants to leave, let her leave. If it's meant to be, it'll work out. And on the surface, that sounds wise. It sounds mature. It sounds like something a confident man would say. But here is what nobody tells you. That advice is not confidence. It is surrender disguised as strength. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand 3 things that will completely change how you see this. Number 1 is why letting go too early is not strength. It's just the most dangerous form of passivity a man can fall into. Number 2 is why giving her space and abandoning the mission are 2 different things, and most men confuse the 2. And number 3 is why the hardest moments in your marriage are not signs that it's over. They're tests, and your response to those tests will determine everything. So let's get into it. Here is what most men do not understand about the advice to let her go. When a man hears let her go, his brain processes it as a noble thing to do. He thinks, I'm being respectful. I'm giving her what she wants. I'm not being controlling. And it feels good for about 5 minutes. But here is what is actually happening underneath that decision. You're not leading, you're retreating. Think about it like this. Imagine a ship in a storm. The waves are crashing, the wind is howling, and everything feels like it's falling apart. Now, what would you think of a captain who said, well, the storm seems bad, so I'm just going to step away from the wheel and hope the ship finds its own way? You would call that insane. You would call that negligence. But that is exactly what letting go too early looks like inside of a marriage. The storm is not the signal to abandon the ship. The storm is a signal to grab the wheel tighter. Here's a deeper truth. Most men let go not because they're strong, but because they're tired. They're tired of rejection. They're tired of silence. They're tired of trying and feeling like nothing works. And I get it. I was there. I understand that exhaustion. What I need you to hear is this. Exhaustion is not the same as completion. Just because you're tired does not mean you have done everything that you can do. It means you have done everything that you know how to do. And those are 2 very different things. Most men have tried the same 3 or 4 moves over and over again. They tried talking it out, no change. They tried giving space, she pulled away further. And they tried being nicer. She saw it as manipulation. They even tried apologizing. She did not believe it. And after cycling through those same moves, they conclude that it's over. But it's not over. They just ran out of tools. And here's something deeper that nobody's telling you. There's a principle I teach my clients. The feminine mirrors and multiplies. What that means is your wife is reflecting back what you have been putting out. Not today, not this week. She's reflecting back months and years of what she has absorbed from you. So when she goes cold, when she shuts down, when she says it's over, she's not generating that out of nowhere. She's mirroring what she experienced and is multiplying it. And the coldness that you're feeling from her right now is the emotional distance that she felt from you for years before this. And the man who responds to that mirror by walking away is actually confirming the very pattern that broke her trust in the first place. You pulled away emotionally long before she did. You just did it quietly, behind work, being the provider, behind thinking that success outside of the home, that everything was fine inside of it. And there is something I also teach called the concept of someone's utopia is being another person's dystopia. What I mean by this is while you thought things were fine in the marriage, she was dying inside. You were living your version of the relationship while she was living in hers. And those are 2 different realities, and they're not even close. So when she finally says, I'm done, she's not making a sudden decision. She's been done for a while. She just finally said it out loud. And the man who lets go at that point is letting go at the exact moment when he should be stepping up, not stepping back. Here is what most people will never tell you. When your wife gets cold, when she pulls away, when she says, I love you, but I'm not in love with you, that is not her attacking you. That is the emotional flare from a deeper wound. She's checking, she's testing, she's looking to see if you are still the man who made her feel unseen, unsafe, and unheard. And when you respond to that moment by walking away, by letting go, you are confirming her worst fear. You were telling her without saying a single word that she was right. You were never going to fight for this. Now look, if any of this is hitting home, if you're sitting there thinking, this sounds like my situation, then I want you to know I help high-achieving husbands rebuild trust and rekindle connection using something called the heroic husband method. It is built on a system called the emotional layering protocol and is designed for men exactly like you, men who do not want therapy talk, men who want precision, strategy, and a real plan. There is a link in the description to book a free consultation with my team. No pressure, just clarity on your situation and what the path forward looks like. But keep watching, because what I'm about to share next is going to change how you see every single moment of resistance in your marriage. Now let's talk about the difference between giving her space and abandoning the mission, because most men confuse the two, and that confusion costs them everything. Here's what I mean. Giving her space means that you're still present, you're still grounded, and you're still showing up differently than you used to. But you are not forcing conversations. You're not pressuring. You're not chasing. That is strategic. That is leadership. But letting go means you have stopped planting seeds. You have stopped doing the work. You have pulled your energy out of the marriage entirely. And you have told yourself a story that sounds noble, but is really just fear wearing a mask. Here's something that most men never hear. Your wife has what I call our bleeding points. These are not surface level problems. These are deep emotional wounds underneath the things that she keeps bringing up. When she says, we have talked about this already, she's not frustrated about repetition. She's carrying years of being disappointed. Years of bringing up the same wound and watching you either minimize it, dismiss it, or explain it away. Women speak in symptoms. She will talk about the dishes. She will talk about the schedule. She will talk about the kids. But underneath all of that, there is a bleeding point. There is a deeper wound that is driving everything. And until you learn to see the whole forest instead of zooming into one tree she's pointing at, you will keep having the same conversation over and over, and she will keep pulling further away. And here is something I want you to really sit with. Her wounds are not in her logic. They are in her nervous system. You cannot talk her out of how she feels. You cannot explain away years of emotional neglect with one good conversation. That is why therapy tells you to communicate better and nothing changes. That is like telling a pilot who is losing altitude to just fly better. It's not wrong. It's just useless without precision. You need to know what to say, when to say it, in what sequence, and what to do when she shuts down in the middle of it. Random kindness will not fix this. Precision behavior will. Structured intentional shifts in how you show up, not once, not twice, but consistently over time. Now, here's a critical part. When you let go too early, those bleeding points, they don't heal on their own. They stay open. They get infected with resentment. They harden into beliefs about who you are as a man and what she can expect from you. And the longer you stay away, the deeper those wounds set. Marriage is not hunting. You do not chase the result and capture it in one shot. Marriage is more like farming. Seeds are your words and your actions. What you say are conscious seeds, and what you do are the subtle shifts and how you show up when she is not even paying attention. Those are subconscious seeds, and they plant deeper than any conversation ever could. The water is consistency and patience, not days of consistency, not weeks, months, something longer. And the harvest comes from a form of connection, respect, and desire. And here's the thing about farming. You cannot plant seeds for a week and then walk away because you do not see the crop yet. That's what letting go too early looks like. You planted a few seeds, you didn't see the harvest, and you convince yourself the soil was dead. That's like trying to pull on a tree to make it grow. But the soil was not dead. You just didn't water it long enough. Now, let me tell you something that's going to reframe everything you're going through right now. Resistance is not rejection. When your wife pushes back, when she gets cold, when she rolls her eyes, or gives you the silent treatment, that is not a sign that it is over. That is a test. And I want you to understand what that test really is. She is not trying to push you away. She's trying to see if you are real this time. Because here's what she has experienced. She has watched you make promises before. She has watched you change from a week, maybe two. And then she watched you slide right back into the same man who made her feel invisible. Now, when you say, I'm different this time, her guard goes up. Not because she does not want to believe you, but because she cannot afford to be disappointed again. She's protecting her feminine, what little she has left. That resistance you're feeling is an emotional fire from a deeper wound. It is her way of checking if you're still the same man or if something has actually shifted. And this is where most men fail the test. They hit resistance and they crumble. They get defensive, they try to convince her, they shut down, they say, fine, I give up. And every single time you do that, you confirm her fear. You prove to her that change was not real, that it was just another performance with an expiration date. The men who succeed are men who can stand in that discomfort without breaking. When she storms, you anchor. When she doubts, you ground. When she tests, you hold. Not with control, not with anger, not with words, with presence. She doesn't need more words from you. She has heard words. Words without action are just noise to her. What she needs is to feel a shift in your energy. She needs to feel that the man standing in front of her is not the same man who made her feel invisible for years. And that does not come from declarations. It comes from what I call our subconscious seeds. Those are the subtle shifts in how you show up in the exact moments where she expects to hold you. When she expects you to argue and you pause instead, when she expects you to shut down and you stay open instead, when she expects you to defend yourself with a list of excuses and you say, I hear you, and you're right to feel that way. Those moments plant seeds deeper than any conversation you will ever have. And she may not respond to those moments immediately. She may not even acknowledge them. But her nervous system registers it. Her body feels it. Something inside of her says, wait, something's different here. And that is where the real rebuilding begins. Not big gestures, not with grand speeches, with consistent grounded presence in the moment that matters most. That is what masculine emotional leadership looks like. It's not about being louder. It's about being steadier, being the man who does not flinch when the fire gets hot. There is a concept I teach called the man of steel mindset. And the foundation of it is this. The man of steel expects growth over time, not overnight. He understands peaks and valleys. He knows that the valleys are not failures. They are tests of his mental fortitude. Tests to see if this is real. Tests to see if the man that she married is actually becoming someone different or if he's just performing again. And when you pass those tests, something shifts. Not because of what you say, but because of what you did. Because of who you became in the moments where the old you would have crumbled. There is a man I work with who had already spent $20,000 on divorce lawyers. His wife had one foot out the door. Everyone told him, it's over, let her go. But he refused to quit. He committed to the process and he stopped trying to convince her with words and started showing up with different behavior, precision behavior, not random acts of kindness, structured, intentional leadership. On October 28th, his wife called the divorce lawyer and stopped the proceedings. On December 6th, they moved back in together. That is what happens when a man refuses to let go at that moment, when everyone tells him to quit. And here is what I want to leave with you. This is not just about your marriage. This is bigger than that. Men, whether they like it or not, are the foundation of the family. And the family is the foundation of everything: communities, societies, nations. When you break down, everything above you crumbles. When you stand up, everything above you rises. Your kids are watching. They're watching what love looks like by watching you. They're learning what strength looks like by watching how you handle this. And the decision you make right now in this moment is not about whether you save your marriage. It's about what your children will believe about commitment for the rest of their lives. So do not let go too early. Do not let someone else's fear disguised as wisdom convince you to walk away from the most important mission of your life. If you are a man who has built success in every other area but feels powerless at home, if your wife is emotionally shut down or ready to leave and you're tired of guessing and you want a real plan, then I want to invite you to book a free consultation with my team. That link is in the description down below. Inside the Hurl Cousin Method, we use the emotional layering protocol to take men through 3 stages: healing, shifting, and bonding. This is not therapy. It's not guesswork. It's a structured system built for men like you who are ready to lead with precision and purpose. Click the link below, book a call, and stop letting go of something that was never meant to be given up on. I'll see you in the next one.